Exit made this.
I was down bad. When mommy told me that
Our young students, mine in particular in second grade, have never had a normal school year. And the routines in early childhood, especially K through 2, are so vital, especially in the early months, especially in the early years. We had 2 classroom communities, each having their own identity and culture. When we returned in April, children were so happy to be in the classroom together. We were so happy to have them all back. But reestablishing routines and procedures with the class of 23 instead of 12 was tough, even for an seasoned teacher like myself. The responsive classroom techniques, which we loved that program, but it was hard to do it with social distancing. There was no morning circle, no high fives, handshakes, or partner work. But I have to say, my colleagues all around the district, we made it work. We figured out ways to incorporate activities into our classroom because we knew how important it was in our classrooms and are part of our regular classroom routines. In fact, in my classroom, it's a job to give out. But as always, classroom teachers are finding ways to make it work. Our groups are smaller, we meet less often, and we get to individual students less often than we would like. Nothing is ideal and nothing is the way it was. But as we have done throughout the pandemic, we are rising to the occasion and become masters of flexibility.
So asking them to collaborate and do group work in the classroom sometimes is a challenge because at that middle school age, they're not always comfortable sharing with people they have never met before, never spoken to before. One of the things that we did this year as a 7th grade class, we felt really important that we should bring some sort of normalcy. So we had a field trip. We obviously had to be creative, and so we brought the field trip here. And we brought a program that we have used in the past called Mountain Workshop, where they do all team building experiences. The feedback from our students was incredible, and they got out of it exactly what we had hoped. We literally had students saying, wow, I got to meet someone that I had never met before, and I got to work with someone that I never knew was a peer of mine, a classmate of mine. And I felt like that fostered such a nice environment, a nice community for our students, that they're now able to transfer back into the classroom and be willing to collaborate and work together in groups and do those things that they once used to be able to do with ease. And this year it's been a little bit more of a transition for us, but we are definitely moving forward in the right direction. They feel comfortable speaking and also encouraging them to be rather open-minded and, accepting of other things that their classmates perhaps want to contribute to a classroom discussion, things of that nature. So really we try to help give them the tools and some guidelines when they're working in group activities to help foster that community within the classroom. Sometimes, for example, Dr. Thompson mentioned we do a Socratic seminar. When we do a Socratic seminar, we don't just pose a question and say, this is the question we're going to do.
Involve games. I just think that's a great way to engage kids. So how do you play a board game for math when you've got one child at home and 2 in front of you? How do you engage them at the same time? So again, continuously adapting instruction. I've seen my colleagues all throughout Prospect Hill do the same thing and all across all the schools in Pelham. Now this year...
In the classroom. I think the first is understanding the students went from this typical school year where it was normal from 2018 to 2019, and then towards the end of that we go transition into this virtual model where now the students are in front of a screen full time. Definitely took a hit to their own stamina or endurance. And I think now, after transitioning back into somewhat of this full person, but we're making sure that we do get through content, and we're making sure that everything is covered in a timely manner. At least in my own practice, that's one way I feel to combat. But that's one thing at least that I've noticed on my own end.
And do you find that chunking that you're talking about is different from the way that you were doing it previously?
So it's not so much that it's different in the way that I was doing it, but it's much more deliberate. Because I think you definitely have to read your room. And I think that if there's a time where you feel like we're in the middle of this activity, but we're starting to lose students, maybe we need to move on to something different and change up the pace just so that we can get these
things like reading stamina, writing stamina. The research shows when you do that, the rest of the year, they'll be pretty strong and just continuously build their stamina along, which is why
every time I was with the kids, we would have to take a good 5 to 10 minute walk during our session, just to keep them going. now I fast forward to this year, and personally,
The students actually are, as opposed to being behind a screen and having to check in, whether it's via GoGuardian or asking a question in some sort of breakout room. I think it is much more telling, and you're actually able to have a conversation with a student like in the moment about what's actually happening. And so for me,
help from. So I thought it was special. He crushed my dreams.
I'm sure they like you.
Well, they're creating, I think
You know, the next work session would look at the other umbrella topic of social emotional.
Dr. Garcia, thank you so much for facilitating. This was amazing. To our directors, our principals, our supervisors, our amazing faculty. You made it sound so good, I'd almost want to go through it again.
I was down bad. Been on me